Going out, going fishing. Woo!
Hey everybody, I'm Jim Sammons and welcome to the Kayak Fishing Show live. As always, brought to you by Ballast Point Brewing Company, as well as all of our other awesome sponsors scrolling across the bottom right there. Of course, it is Cinco de Mayo, so happy Cinco de Mayo. So I'm actually going to step away from the Ballast Point and we're going to go for the arch enemy of the Corona, and we're going to have ourselves a Pacifico today. So happy Cinco de Mayo and cheers to you all. Awesome. I'm sure I'll be having a few of those later with some Mexican food, some fine San Diego Mexican food, and maybe some margaritas. So I hope you guys have some fun plans for Cinco de Mayo if you can. Cool thing is, like, locally here, the water is opening up. Actually got our boat all ready to go, got the trailer all fixed, my light issues I was having, which seems like it's always a problem with boat trailers. And so I got those fixed and cleaned up some kayaks. So I plan on starting to get back out on the water here. So I hope you can do the same. So this show we'll be doing today is part 2 of our Puerto Rico episode from 2014. So this was a few years back. I had my good buddy Luther Ciphers with us from Yakattack and Joe Pulliam from world famous paddler and with Jackson Kayak, who actually worked with me a lot when we were working on the design of the Kraken. So we had a wonderful time on this trip, and just, you know, so many laughs and so many good fish. And so with no further ado, I see Luther has shown up because he was running a little bit late. But first off, let's bring Joe up onto the screen. Joe, how are you?
Good, Jim. How are you?
Good, man. It was fun catching up with you a little bit before the show started. We haven't chatted in a while because you are now retired. So I actually made this for Joe. Joe can be reached at retired.com.
Good luck.
Joe doesn't want to be found. He just wants to go paddling. So
that would be good. That would be good right now.
Yeah, once things all open up, and I'm, you know, fingers crossed. At least here in San Diego and California, things are loosening up a little bit. You know, you still gotta do the right thing. But you know, because I don't want to get sick. I don't want to get anybody in my family sick. But at least, like I said, for us, the water is finally open, so we can get out and fish and paddle and stuff.
And here too, they have relaxed restrictions on boat landings and water access points. So,
and where are you located, Joe?
Good. I'm in the northwest corner of South Carolina.
Okay.
Yeah. 30 minutes from the mountains and 3 hours from the beach.
3 hours is a little bit too far from the beach for me, but I'm sure it's beautiful. Spent some time in South Carolina last year. It's a beautiful place.
We had an encounter there when we were working on the Kraken in Charleston area.
Yeah, did some surfing.
Yeah.
Super fun. So our other guest is Luther. He's been on the show many times. He's a good friend of ours, Luther Ciphers with Yakattack. Luther, how are you, man?
Hey, guys. How's it going?
Hey, Luther.
Hey, Joe. How you doing, buddy?
It's been a while.
It's been a minute, man.
Excuse me. Got to wash down the Corona with a Pacifico. Battling.
Oh, and he's going Corona.
So, you know, guys, we haven't had a chance to share, you know, swap stories or chat in a long time. Great trip. I don't know if you saw, I mean, I aired the first the first episode from that trip was last week. And I had Omar Orraca on, our good friend and guide, and just brought back so many memories. Because the cool thing is for me is I don't watch the show. You know, it's like, so being able to do this, I get a chance to go back and watch things and kind of relive them. And I don't watch them, you know, before we do these. So it brings back a lot of memories. One of which, I don't know, where did he go? Where'd he go? Do you have him with you? Do you have it?
I was thinking about that.
Oh, you know what? I do. I pulled that out because I mean these were our good luck charms when Luther showed up with these.
Yeah, Ty Roth, Hooked by Ty. He made those for us right before the trip. Yeah, I've got mine. It's back in Virginia. I'm in South Carolina right now. But,
oh, okay. It was the Tarpon Mojo, if you recall.
That's right.
and the funny thing was, I think it was like the first day was really, really tough fishing. It was just Joe and I fished. Luther, you showed up the next day. And we just had a brutal time. We were missing fish, and I don't think we landed any fish the first day. And then Luther shows up, hands out the Tarpon Mojo, and the fishing just goes boom, 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 just gets better and better and better as that trip went on. It was I remember it as being a phenomenal trip. We caught a lot.
Yeah,
even Joe.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, even Joe. Joe didn't catch a lot, but I did catch my first tarpon, and that was special.
Yeah, and I'm such a cool place. I mean, like I think Joe, actually, one of the things you mentioned when we were talking yesterday, the cool thing about Puerto Rico for somebody who wants to go on an adventure, go to someplace different, it's super easy, right? I mean, it's so easy to get there. It's what was it? Where we stayed was 5 minutes away from the airport?
Well, yeah, every place I've gone where you change culture that much, you're looking at a long drive, rough roads, who knows what, after you land. And you land 10 minutes later, we're at our lodge and you fish from where we were staying. That was pretty special. Plus, you don't have the hassles of border crossings.
Right. It's an easy place for Americans to travel to. And what Omar and I were talking about last week is, hopefully once this all settles down, because I mean, no place, I can't think of any place has been through a series of events that has affected them so much as Puerto Rico. That hurricane was so bad. And then it seems like they were getting going again. And then all those earthquakes. And then the coronavirus. So I think if any destination that people maybe are thinking about going fishing to a destination that could use our help, it's that one. Because they had just got hammered. It was 3 strikes.
Yeah, for sure.
So I'm going to jump in. We got a few comments, questions. Actually, Liam, how you doing, man? Thanks for joining us. Omar Orraca, regards, Joe. Big hug. And Omar
Hello,
is watching. Omar is a great guy. James Macbeth. We all know James Macbeth with Jackson Kayak. Thanks for joining us, James. James and I had the next time I went to Puerto Rico after this episode was with James, and we'll be showing that one, and I'll be laughing at all the fish that he lost on that one. It was a lot. Sean Russell, how you doing, man? Let my people go surfing. How you doing? Thanks.
You mean we have Yvonne Chenard on the line?
Thanks for watching us on Kayak Fishing Tales, our YouTube channel. William, how you doing? Sean says the cough doesn't sound good. I don't. I just had a little tickle in my throat. I'm 100%. I guarantee it. Omar says, so cool to see us all together. So many great memories. Sean says, hey, Luther.
What's up, Sean?
And whoa, that jumped to a different. What do you guys use for stringers on your kayak? Any try sound-minded live well style net? Okay, that went straight into a question because I actually clicked on one above it. I didn't mean to click on that one. I don't like stringers because I'm a saltwater guy. So I always keep my fish in an insulated game bag on the kayak. The one time that in open water where I was ever off my kayak was because I had some yellowtail on a game clip that got knocked in the water and a sea lion grabbed it, yanked me over, sent all my gear to the bottom. So no, I'm not a big fan of stringers. Live well net style's not good. They do tangle up in your bait too much. If you want to use something over the side, bait tubes work better, in my opinion. Jane Wilson finally got reception and greetings from the water. Thanks, Jane. Jane always joins us. Thank you so much. She is awesome. And Chris Lemons. Hope all is good. Thanks for joining us, Chris. So before we get going on this, Luther, I just wanted to touch on what you've been doing. The project, the personal protective equipment stuff that you've been going. Is that still something you're still charging forward with?
Yeah, we're in production on basically a face shield. Lightweight face shield, kind of goes on like a pair of glasses, got a little strap over the top of the head and a clear shield. We're in production on those. These positive pressure respirators that they use, it's kind of like a hazmat suit looking thing with a face shield on it. Those shields are also, the world supply is kind of dried up, so we've developed a process for making those. And then we're starting to distribute these kits for sewing masks. So it's like pre-cut patterns out of filtration material that was actually developed for HVAC, but it's safe to breathe through. Texas A&M did a study and drew some equivalents to like these HVAC ratings versus like, you know, for filtration for the purposes that we need them right now. So we followed some of those guidelines and have put together some like mask kits that people can sew. And then we've got a rubberized respirator that we've got everything tooled up except for a little nose piece. We found we need a little bit of a nose piece to just kind of squeeze it a little bit right where your nose meets your face. I think a week to 10 days, and that'll be in production. And then yeah, it's just one thing after another. Local hospitals tell us what they need, or we find out through, you know, social media or some of the groups that we're in what's needed, things that kind of match with our capabilities. We've been, you know, jumping in, trying to tool up and get out there. I think it was, I want to say it's 6 weeks ago today that we decided to get involved with it. And, you know,
that's very cool. If somebody wants to jump on board to try to help you, can you just shoot out with the best way for them to help donate? Because I know this is something you guys have been working really hard on and getting donations to materials and everything.
Yeah. So basically what we're doing is smaller, like, you know, like we just sent some stuff to a lady who's getting deployed down to, I guess, Florida or wherever, getting sent down there to help with the virus. She was afraid she wouldn't get personal protective equipment down there, some indications she wouldn't. So we sent her that, you know, so we've been able to donate the smaller quantities all over the place. And then when we get to the larger quantities, hospitals and stuff like that, we're just asking them to cover costs so we can make another one basically, so we can keep this going. But there's a GoFundMe page out there. I don't have the link memorized. We're at the point now where we've gotten it off the ground. There's some money left in the donation fund that we're using again for these smaller donations. We've gotten a good response from the hospitals and the rescue squads and, you know, the organizations. For them, it's not a matter of, you know, any aversion to covering costs. It's a matter of availability. The stuff's just not
right.
So what we're trying to do is keep our business going without running out of money so we can keep doing this. But it's not really a business for us as much as it's an effort to try to help get this thing.
Right. Well, if somebody, you know, one of our viewers, if they happen to know what that link is, because I know a lot of our viewers or followers of you as well. So if somebody could pop that up into the comments so they know where that is, or if later on I'll go into the comments and add that in there. So very cool. But we came here to watch a video. I don't know if you guys have even seen it. Like I said, you know, this would have been, I said this was 2014, so 6 years ago.
It's hard to believe it's been 6 years.
Yeah. So with no further ado, let's get this thing rolling.
This week on Jackson Kayak's Kayak Fishing Show, Jim Sammons, Luther Ciphers,
guys, give me a thumbs up if you can hear it.
Continuing their Puerto Rican fishing adventure with Caribbean Outfitters. The big tarpon have been sighted, the weather's looking good, and it's time to catch big fish from little plastic boats.
Just that little teaser there. Basically, when you were sitting there, remember, you were basically right in the flight path.
Yeah.
Don't stand in front of a man and a fish he ain't caught yet. Honey, if the world calls me, tell him fishing. I'm going fishing. Where am I headed? Where am I headed? Where am I headed? Would you like to? Where am I headed? Where am I headed? Where am I headed? Would you like to go fishing? I'm going fishing.
Jackson Kayak's Kayak Fishing Show is brought to you by Jackson Kayak. One family, many waters. Shark Shield, the world's only proven and tested shark deterrent technology. Raymarine, don't just go fishing, go hunting underwater with Raymarine. Mountain Khaki, live life untucked. Ram Mounts, innovative mounting systems proudly made in the USA. And Hook One, everything you need to get out there and hook one. This week, Jim Sammons joins Puerto Rican kayak fishing guide Omar Orraca of Caribbean Outfitters to hook up on big tarpon in the lagoons of San Juan.
I like catching big fish off my kayak. There's nothing like it. I mean, I love billfish. I like tuna. Tarpon are right up there. I mean, if I had to pick two fish that are my favorite, it's those marlin and tarpon because they're so big and so powerful and acrobatic. And there's a certain challenge to the tarpon where, I mean, they're hitting your bait. They're great at knocking your bait out of the water, but not connecting with the hook. So there's that certain challenge and a little bit of a learning curve when you haven't caught them before.
Here's a piece of paradise. You know, the flights from, at least from me on the East Coast, were incredibly inexpensive. So I was really surprised that, 2 or 3 guys could come down here. Omar's got the kayaks. I mean, way within reach. I mean, a 2 or 3 day trip is within reach of anybody. It's no more than a couple of rod and reel outfits that most people have in their arsenal. So, yeah, absolutely achievable. And for me, it was absolutely a trip of a lifetime.
Well, I mean, the approach, I mean, as you know, we've been seeing some fish, but it hasn't been the numbers of frenzies or massive size schools. So they've been approaching and working the drop-off. This area has been dredged, so that's one of the advantages. Some of the drop-off can be very radical, from 1 foot of water straight down to 20, 30 feet down. And those walls, they love to hang out on them. Most of these walls are made, or these banks are made out of oysters, little tiny oysters, and perch feed on them. So the tarpon are hanging around waiting for one of those perch to just swim a little too far from the bank.
That's why we came here to fish with Omar again. Yeah! Good fish. That was fun.
Getting to know Omar was really special. He is incredibly knowledgeable, not only about fishing, he's super passionate about it. He knows this stuff and knew all about the wildlife and sort of the bigger ecological scene.
This week in Puerto Rico, we have been lucky enough to have 3 great Jackson kayaks here with us. We have the Cuda 14, we have the Big Rig, and we have my new signature boat, the Kraken. I can't tell you, I love my Kraken, but I also had a great time on the Big Rig. I tell you what, standing up and fighting one of these big fish is such a thrill that you've got to give it a try. Standing up and sight casting and throwing lures. The Big Rig is just that ultra stable boat. I think you'll love it.
The Big Rig, I mean, what a fun platform to fish off of. I mean, I watched Jim fighting this tarpon standing up. That's something I didn't do. But it's Big Rig's a great boat for, if you aren't super comfortable in a kayak, or if you've got a body of water where you really need to fish it standing up. If you like to carry a lot of gear, if you're a bigger guy, I mean, there's 100 reasons that's a great boat. And watching Jim standing up fighting the tarpon, that kind of sealed the deal.
The Cuda, which I didn't spend any time on it this trip, but have a lot of time in, is such a super versatile SUV, if you will, of fishing kayaks. It's stable enough to stand up in. But
Dang,
also
it's an
has
infomercial.
ride and is a great paddle.
Yeah, the Cuda was a lot sort of in between the two boats in a lot of ways. It's got great initial stability. It's
Of course,
nice.
I'm ignoring
Probably
all
the best
the
tracking of the
kayak
two
stuff
boats.
and just
Keeping
watching
it
the
going
fish.
straight is really
We caught
important.
such a variety of
The,
sizes of fish.
Overall,
Yeah,
That's a great
balance
picture.
of that boat and versatility of it is
I
really
remember
hard to
catching
beat.
that one really
Check
small
out
one
all
on
the
like
Jackson Kayaks,
really light
great
tackle. That
kayaks
was
at your local
so much
Jackson
fun.
Kayak dealer.
Stay tuned. When we return, Jim hooks into a beast just as the sun goes down.
It's funny, I
Remember that- I
admire
remember that fish.
back
Yeah.
Yeah, look at that
I
light.
took a screen grab on my display because I had one that you could tell by the image that it was a tarpon.
The Kayak Fishing Show is brought to you in part by Jackson Kayak. One family, many waters. Learn more at jacksonkayak.com.
So there's our commercial break. Like I said, to me, that's just bringing up so many great memories. The variety of sizes of fish that we caught. Like you said, you caught that one that was really small, but I mean, on light tackle, what a blast. And then,
Yeah.
you know, the medium sized one, and then a few really, really nicer size fish.
Yeah. And the power of those fish just to pull the kayak around. I mean, at one point we had, you know, what, 2 boats hanging on to
Three
my
boats.
boat. Well,
Yeah.
three together that, you know, trying to slow that fish down. Omar up there like a drill sergeant. He's like, keep the tip up, keep the tip up. I'm like,
So in my mind, that went on for 2 hours. Did that really go on for 2 hours?
It was a long fight.
It was a long time, yeah.
I remember, I'm pretty sure
Whoa,
that's the
right.
fish where I had looked over and you were trolling along the mangroves and I saw it blow up behind you.
Yeah.
And then that fish towed you all over that estuary. And then remember it getting all wrapped up in weeds. And we're going to see that. I think that might be like the last fish on this episode. I think
It was like the last thing that happened, I think, on the trip. So.
Yeah. It was super dead. Like I think I had a dead perch out and I was trying to cast mangrove snapper. You know, I was just had it out drifting and that thing hit in the super, super shallow water and then immediately wrapped himself around some timber and, you know, it was wild.
So we have some more questions, comments. Of course, Gene is saying, very awesome, Luther. We have Raphael, hello from Sweden. It's good to see you're all healthy. Yeah, thanks for joining us, Raphael. Got a lot of friends in Sweden. I hope they're all doing well. Of course, they handled it completely different. Oh, Sean, thank you so much for getting that link to the GoFundMe up. I knew one of our people would find it. They always do. Serge, always joining us from Canada. Thank you, man. Dave, how you doing? Sean, look at all the hair on Jim's head. I don't think I've seen you without a hat before. You know what? My hair is almost back like that again. I need a haircut so bad. It's not quite there, but it's bad. My wife likes my hair long. I prefer it short. Richard, thanks for joining us from Georgia. And Lisa Nelson, awesome tarpon, such a cool fish. I'll have to check that off my bucket list someday. They remind me of sheefish. Lisa, we met one of the early years of our trips on a trip up in Alaska. Her parents owned the lodge that we were at. Thanks for joining us, Lisa. I appreciate it. Anyway, let's get this thing back on. See what happens next.
This week, Jim is joined by Luther Ciphers, owner and mind behind Yakattack Fishing Accessories, and kayaking legend Joe Pulliam from Jackson.
Legend,
Kayak.
Joe.
Instead of the
Legend.
amazing
Yeah, right.
Tarpon's Nest Lodge,
My mind.
Omar has been running tarpon fishing trips in the lagoons for years and has now found a way to bring his customers closer to the fish thanks to a fleet of Jackson kayaks.
Will sure puts on the narrator voice, doesn't he?
Second trip to Puerto Rico. And if you watch the show, you know the first time we came here, the fishing was a little bit tough. But we came back for 2 reasons. We came back because we wanted to fish with Omar Orraca again. Just such a high energy, enjoyable, cool guy to hang out with. and super knowledgeable of this fishery. We also came back because he made us promises. He told us that last trip was not the norm. We had a weird situation, a weather change, a water change, just threw everything into a tizzy, and the fish just didn't chew like he knew that they could. He promised us that you could get better fishing here than what we had seen the last time. And because we loved fishing with the guy so much, even though the fishing was bad, we had to come back. We had to see if his words were true. And I'm telling you what, he was right.
Affordable adventure in a rustic,
That's the one I
cultural-filled
like tackle.
setting right next to one of the finest
That's
fisheries in the
a
world.
super
Great
fun size
outfitters
right
should be
there.
on
It
every
was so
angler's
much
bucket
fun.
list.
There you go. Good job.
Nice.
Nice, Luther.
A long day on the water comes to a close with several more fish landed. Reluctantly, Jim takes one last cast before heading in for the night.
Nothing like a little sunset fish. And looking at the sunset. Definitely, that took more line than any tarpon I've had. I mean, it just smoked line off the reel. That sound we love to hear. Yeah. You know, this is a return trip for us to Puerto Rico. Our first trip, we caught some really good fish, but we had a tough time. But Omar said, you know, kept telling us how good it was, and we believed in him, and we believed in this fishery, so we decided we had to come back. And I'm telling you, so far, it's been everything he said. You know, we had a little bit of a learning curve. We lost some fish, but each day the fishing's gotten better. Luther brought some tarpon mojo for us with some little tarpon emblems. No, you don't. Splashed me in the face. And it's just been good fish today. Luther got a couple of really nice fish. I've had a couple of fish, and the last one was pretty good, and this one's definitely bigger. I had it in my hand again, same thing. I couldn't get my hand in the right position to pull it up, and I tried to get my hand in the gill plate. When I did that, he shook his head. Wow, that was a good fish.
That was a big fish.
This week in Puerto Rico,
Yeah, that was
has been hot. Not only has it been hot, it's been humid.
that was a really good fish, and
Talk about how to stay safe and comfortable in the heat.
there's a
Brought to you by
lot of good
Yakattack.
fish there. I mean,
Yakattack.
you'd see them
Leading a
rolling.
revolution in kayak fishing
I
accessories.
said the first time we went,
I
we
don't
ended
know
up getting,
how
we only
hot it's
caught
been
2
here in
fish the
Puerto
entire
Rico,
trip.
But all I can say,
But we saw a
it's
lot of
been
fish. They just
hot
wouldn't
and it's
eat.
been humid. If you want to make sure you stay safe, you don't bonk out there in the sun, it's very important you take some precautions. You know, good sunscreen, of course, is important. Most people want to think, oh, it's hot, I'm going to wear short sleeves and shorts. Yeah, that's nice for a short time out on the water, but it actually
See that planer board in my hand?
that much sun exposure on your skin.
That's for
just
taking the line out to the
starts
side.
to overheat.
I don't know if you guys remember, I had a tarpon
Wear
try to
nice,
eat it.
lightweight
Yeah.
clothing,
It's like-
long sleeve shirts, long pants, but nice light stuff. Like the Mountain Khaki has very nice light shirts. They're quick drying. They evaporate. The moisture on your skin evaporates very quickly. The same with the pants. There's nothing worse than being out there.
The other
in
thing
long
that's cool
pants
about that
get
spot,
all
and I don't know if
heavy and
it's
soggy.
in the show,
One of
but
the items that
you know, we're in that
really helped me
lagoon
a
and
lot
then a
out
short
here
boat
just to-
ride, and we're out in blue water, you know, looking for billfish.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the blue water. God, you know what I remember about that? You remember about being out on the blue water? It was insanely hot.
Yeah, it was very hot. Yeah.
I remember it being just insanely hot out there on that one.
Yeah, and only Kelsey got to jump in.
That was a cool thing about this trip as well, is we had 2 videographers, and most of the time on our shoots I have one. So having Will and Kelsey there, so one guy could focus on those slow-mo shots, all the really cool shots we're seeing, and then the other guy focusing on, you know, maybe the wide angle or whatever. So I think that's what made this such a cool episode, and getting so many just amazing jump shots.
Yeah.
Well, we didn't have much luck out in the ocean, but I'm really glad we went out there. That was fun.
Oh yeah, it was absolutely beautiful. But no, I don't think we caught anything out there. Maybe a Maybe a vertical jigging got a fish. I don't recall. Said it's been a long time.
Keep that sun
Let's
off
see.
my face, my nose getting fried, and just to keep you from feeling like you're getting baked is the buff. And this one's
Yeah,
really nice.
I'm wearing those now.
Longer, it covers my neck and has the breathing holes for your mouth. Even shoes, keeping the tops of your feet covered up. Because I tell you what, getting the tops of your feet burned is miserable. So something that's breathable, nice and light, but covering as much skin as possible. Of course, a wide brimmed hat. You see me wearing that thing all the time, but it really is a lifesaver when it comes to keeping the tops of your ears from being burned and the top of your face and a little bit of the sun out of your eyes. Good sunglasses, all this stuff. That's this week's kayak fishing tip.
You look young then,
Welcome
Joe.
back. It's Luther's turn.
I
to
was
turn
6
on
years
the
younger.
Tarpon Mojo and land a beast. The Kayak Fishing Show is brought to you in part by Hook One.
It was
Every
definitely
day
a
you can
little
hashtag
less
Hook
gray
One.
then.
Learn more at kayakfishinggear.com.
Gray is good.
At least I've got it. I still got all that hair up there.
Yeah. You've had an easy life.
Kayak
I have.
Fishing Show is brought to you in part by Ram Mounts, innovative mounting systems proudly made in the USA. It's the second last day of the fishing trip, and yesterday the big fish moved into the lagoons, just as Captain Omar had predicted.
That's right where you fell in the water, Joe. Was right in this area here.
Yeah. Well,
I wasn't going to let this show go by without mentioning you falling in the water.
I think that was the first day we were there, and I guess I'm not very used to climbing into kayaks out of power boats. But, I think I might have got one foot on the kayak.
I remember turning around and you were in the water. It's like, what the heck just happened? I don't know.
Oh well, I've been in water before. Wow, look at that.
Get your tarpon.
They love to get you wet.
Yeah.
We were just seeing fish in that little zone. Said I got hit and missed the bait. And like 2 seconds later, Joe got hit, and he was about, 50 yards from me. And so I had no bait. I just had a dead bait, so I just launched it into this trench. And so there's a bank here, and there's a deep spot. I metered fish in there the other day, so we knew there was fish holding in that area generally. So tossed that dead bait in there, and it wasn't out 2 seconds, and just got slammed. Did a great jump right off my bow. Ran, screamed off some line, and then just did another beautiful jump off my bow. Just gills flared, body moving. I tell you, you get a chance to come down to Tarpon's Nest and fish with Omar Orraca, you got to do it. This is just such a fantastic fishery. Oh man, that was some good fun. I mean, we've caught a lot of tarpon. We've caught them this big, and we've caught them this big. I mean, we've caught them all sizes. It's just been a fantastic trip so far. We still got a day and a half to fish. Whew. This week, while we're in Puerto Rico, the bigger fish have moved in, and that's why we've all moved to a little bit heavier gear. We're all using the release reels, SG and
Release
LG
reels.
lever drag reels,
Siegler.
super smooth
Yeah.
drag. Good
Siegler
quick rod,
reels.
Great for
There it
these
is.
fish. A little bit shorter rods. Still a soft tip. You don't want to pull the hook on these fish when they jump, but a little bit shorter so you have a little bit more power.
I remember when we
the
first
reel that I
got
was
there, you
using
guys
was
were
loaded
briefing
with
us on like when the fish
50-pound
jump,
Seaguar
you actually
thread
want to
lock.
give them line.
That's that
as
hollow core
opposed
braid
to
that I like so much.
taking up that was the most counterintuitive thing in the world to try to do.
Right. Basically, well, they say bow to them, but mainly you just want to point your rod at them.
Yeah, like jousting. That's what
right.
Omar said. It's like you're jousting the fish.
Yeah, because if they're jumping like that and they land on the line, or if you got too much pressure, they're going to throw the hook or just break the line when they land on it. But Man, just watching this, I have not watched these things. I'm just watching these tarpon. It's like, man, I just want to go fishing. I really want to go fishing. And I want to go fishing for tarpon. There's something about these fish that jump like that. It's just so exciting.
The first time I ever was around tarpon was snorkeling in somewhere in the Caribbean. And wow, they are just magnificent creatures. Yeah.
We went to... I said the trip following this, when I went with James Macbeth, there were areas that basically you couldn't fish there because they were just hand fed from restaurants and stuff. And there are just hundreds and hundreds of them underneath these docks. And, then go away from that area and working topwater lures and just, oh my gosh, so much fun. So much fun. I was supposed to go back to Puerto Rico this year. I was actually supposed to be there sometime this month, and because of the situation, we had to cancel that trip. So since we've paused, may as well check in and say hello to a few people here. Lost Horizon Fishing, how you doing up in Huntington Beach, man? Gene, Will does such great voiceovers. Yes, Will gets into the total narrator voice. Sometimes sounds a bit like Kermit the Frog, but he definitely, back in the day, we used to joke about it quite a bit, but he, as the shows went on later on, I think he toned it down a bit, but I had a lot of fun. I traveled with Will for every shoot for 10 years. He and I worked together, so it was always so much fun working with Will. Eric P, what not to use for those big fish? Generally speaking, if you're live bait fishing, I use a loop knot, like a perfection loop. I like that bait free swinging, I should say. But it depends on what, I was using heavier fluorocarbon, and that's just a super easy knot to tie with heavy line, Dave Fowler, thanks for joining us from Ottawa. Kelly, watching from Thailand. How are you, Kelly? My wife and I visited Thailand for a few weeks this year, and we met Kelly, and she was nice enough to cook for us, and we watched the Super Bowl at her house in Thailand.
Wow.
So thanks for joining us, Kelly. Let's keep her rolling.
Then I was using 60-pound Seaguar fluorocarbon as my leader, so it was a good-sized leader that I could grab to pull in those fish. That's what I was using this week in Puerto Rico. Check it out.
Well, the tide had slacked off. The fish had kind of slowed down, and I could see a little current break. It started paddling over to it, and right away I saw a couple of fish rolling in it. It made a loop and just worked that current break, and I was turning around, coming back through where I saw the fish when it hit, and hit hard. I saw the bait go flying, reeled up on it, had the fish hook, and then it jumped again towards me, and I thought I had lost it, and it was swimming so fast towards me. I was reeling line as fast as I could, and nothing. And I put my hands up. I was like, man, it's over. And then I saw the line start to tighten up, so I grabbed my rod again, and it just swam right under the boat, and it was on after that.
Textbook technique there, Luther.
Had a good coach.
Thank you.
Like Jim was saying, the mouth, there's not a lot to grab to. The way it's shaped and the angle that you're at in the kayak, it's kind of tough to figure out how to get a hold on it. And then you're really relying on clamp strength more than, actually being locked into the fish's mouth. So a couple of times he kind of got away from me, but fortunately it was hooked well.
That was a decent fish right there, man.
Yeah, that was my first decent one.
Get the feel of a tarpon on my lap.
Oh, so pretty.
When we return, it's the last day in Puerto Rico and the last chance for big fish. The Kayak Fishing Show is brought to you in part by InReach Explorer, the only truly global satellite communicator with built-in navigation, including waypoints and routing.
Did either of you guys get the wonderful experience on these tarpon of having one take a giant dump on you?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think
Multiple times.
I think that's just seemed to go with the territory.
I remember the big one I caught on the first trip we went, and it's like I didn't care because I mean we had waited so long to get a fish. The thing must have let 20 pounds out on me. I mean, it was all over my lap, all over. I had a pile underneath my seat like this. It's like the price you pay for putting a kayak or a tarpon up on your kayak, but woo, it was bad.
I remember some smelly gear.
Yeah, and when you pull them up on your lap, I mean they definitely have a gooey slime to them that just sticks to everything. Oh, what happened here?
Ruh-roh.
We got to see Luther in the
Kayak
big
Fishing Show
fight.
is brought to you in part by Shark Shield, makers of the Freedom 7, a compact, versatile, and lightweight personal shark deterrent system. Welcome back. This week, Jim Sammons is fishing for big tarpon in the lagoons of Puerto Rico with Captain Omar Orraca from Caribbean Outfitters.
Look at that.
Those iguanas were everywhere, man.
And they're huge. I couldn't believe how big they
We've
were.
been fishing split days, early tide and late tide. The last day,
Omar, in the last episode, Omar was telling me that a lot of the iguanas kind of got washed away during the hurricane. He goes, yeah, but they're coming back.
Couldn't believe how many we saw.
Yeah, he says there's not nearly as many right now. They got by the hurricane.
the way the tides were going to work out, it was going to be a long middle of the day. We had pretty high hopes. Got out there and the fish just weren't really that active. It was a little bit slow for probably the first half of the day. And we started seeing a few fish roll. I think Jim got a hook up. Joe had a couple of hits, but I hadn't gotten hit since early in the morning. So I decided to go over to the mangroves and catch a snook. And I left my perch out, drifting, hoping maybe to pick up a tarpon. And I got up into some branches, was casting at the mangroves, and all of a sudden I felt my kayak was completely sideways to the line that I had out, and I felt the thing wobble. I thought I had hit a stump, and then the big splash came, and it was a big old fish. And right away, my first concern was we were in the branches, got to get this fish out of these branches. I could feel the line was wrapped around the branch or rubbing up against the branch. But second jump cleared the branch, and we're able to fight the fish out of there. And then the next two and a half hours was the fish just towing me around at points.
Could not get enough pressure on that fish to slow it down.
Just a super powerful fish. Just an awesome fish.
We got Luther hooked up with a real big fish. I think he's way over 100. Fish was hooked up in probably less than a foot of water right in front of the river. And we have a little creek here in San Jose Lagoon that it dumps a lot of bait, fresh water, along with all the nutrients that these fish are looking for. And so Luther
all
was
tangled in that weed.
Yeah, against the mangrove right in that shallow area where the rivers dump of the water, and he just hooked a massive size fish. The fish got to be way over 100.
It's like the first 5-10 minutes is nothing but adrenaline. The next 10 minutes or so you start to get that little bit of burn, but after that it's just determination. Jim was joking at me on one point saying, you better not hand this thing off, and I was like, that's the last thing that's going to happen. No matter what, I'm gonna fight this fish till I land it. And it's just how it is. I mean, that's a fish of a lifetime. That's a moment you don't want to miss, and I'm just thankful to have had the opportunity to do it.
Omar was a man on a mission when he pulled the fish, measured it, had it back in the water in like a minute.
This went okay. One awesome fish. Probably over an hour of a half fight, man. On the new Kraken, it was a great fight. Luther really killed his back in there, man. It was just great. Awesome, man. See you again, guys.
We were all worn out.
Yeah, that was a team effort. It was a total team effort.
That was fun.
Just like any fisherman, we like to have our electronics. It makes a huge difference in being able to locate fish.
I mean,
locate
it
bait
didn't
schools,
didn't show it as well, but that point where you were leaning, Joe, when you were leaning over, you had your boat leaned over, reaching across Luther's boat to get that 50 pounds
Get
of
all
meat
that.
on his line.
You
Yeah.
can see all that great
And that
structure,
fish was
and with
towing
some
all
technology,
three of us
you literally
around
have
at
a
one
picture
point.
of
Yeah,
what's
for a
going
while,
on
yeah.
underneath you.
I mean,
As a traveling kayaker,
such a strong
how
fish.
valuable it is to be able to know where the structure is in areas you have no idea. For tarpon fishing that we're doing here in Puerto Rico, knowing where the channels are that are a little bit deeper, that maybe
I'll still always remember this,
Check
that
out
one,
all of
that
Raymarine's great products
sundown
at your
shot,
local
that sundown
Raymarine
fish
store.
I had, that was so cool.
Triple
Yeah,
a
they're-
lifetime,
Our
man.
trip here to Puerto
Two,
Rico,
the two big
Omar,
fish,
Orraca,
biggest fish were
Luther
right at the end of the
Ciphers, Joe
day.
Pulliam. We've had
Right.
a wonderful time here at the Tarpon's Nest. Puerto Rico is an awesome fishery. If you ever get a chance, you gotta visit this place. Fantastic fishing.
Good memories.
For sure.
Yeah, I've like I said, I've thoroughly enjoyed reliving these episodes because I say, I don't sit around and watch my own show. And I may have seen it when it first came out, when I did a quality control review of the episode, but I don't sit and watch them. So be able to sit here and watch the episode with you guys has been a lot of fun. I really appreciate you taking the time and coming on here with me. Again, I know somebody did put in the comments, Luther. So for that donation stuff, they can reach you that way. But also, of course, at yakattack.com. And of course, everybody wants to track down Joe. He's retired. He doesn't want to be reached. He's at retired.com. So anything else, guys? You gonna go out and have some Mexican food, have some tequila or anything for Cinco de Mayo?
Don't about go out, but
Gonna stay in and have some tequila?
Maybe another Corona.
Well, I wish you guys all the best, and hopefully we get to fish together again sometime. And everybody be safe.
Good seeing
Good
you
fun.
guys.
Good memories. Yeah. See you, Luther.
All right.
Take care, guys. Excuse me. Well, I thoroughly enjoyed reliving that episode. I hope you enjoyed the episode as well. This Thursday, don't forget to join us for our throwback years, the Ocean Kayak years. We'll be showing, I believe, our first trip to Texas, where we were invited down to fish in and help with one of the very first Heroes on the Water events. I'm trying to get my buddy Jeff Herman to come on as the guest to share the memories on that one. And it was a really, really good time. And being around the Heroes on the Water guys way back then was very, very cool. So thank you all for joining us. If you are getting out on the water, remember, please, please, please wear your PFD and keep your paddle right side up. You take care.